BLM logo, title, The Pony Express on the land, drawing a rider galloping horse. Donna Cassette, Northern Paiute, speaking Paiute.
Hamu Nagananyan Donna Cassette. I am Northern Paiute, and my family has a very notable relative. One of my grandfathers, his name is Captain Truckee.
Drawing of Captain Truckee.
He is 8 generations back. From there, we also have other relatives and grandfathers, one of them being Wahi.
Stacked stone walls, Pony Express station ruins.
In the 1860s, my ancestors would have seen a new phenomenon of the Pony Express rider and their stations that were being constructed and built along those old trails or Paiute or Native American trails that led to and from water. Fresh, palatable, drinkable water. A resource that in this part of the Great Basin was vital for life. Pa in Northern Paiute.
Donna Cassette, Indigenous Peoples Museum exhibit.
In the desert, you have to find the clean, fresh water within the area as well. And those resources were oftentimes fought over because of occupation or whatever reason. Some of them are very scarce resources once you go further into the Great Basin. You have to know where the water sources are or you will not survive. And so just imagine if you don't know where these places are, what happens? Oftentimes, and even today, sometimes people even perish. There's sinkholes that you can get into. There's playas that if it just rains and you happen to travel through them, you can get, it's like quicksand. You can get stuck in them if you don't know how to navigate through the desert.
Donna Cassette on High Desert Hillside points out landscape features.
So as the Pony Express came into being in the 1860s, they would have had driven along the southern border of the Toitikuta and also the Carson Lake area. And they would have continued on through this valley up and over the mountain range and continued on to where they would meet the Carson River as we know it today in the Fort Churchill area. In the Desatoya, there's a place called Otogo Guana, which means to be lifted up. And this is close to an area for the Pony Express called Cold Springs.
Photo of Sand Mountain.
Sand Mountain, the location where the Pony Express had a station called Sand Springs. It's called Quasi, and it's known to our people as where the snake lives. And you can see the ridge of the snake in the formation of the sand dune there. You can see the back forming as the crest of Sand Mountain. North of this location, there's a mountain in the distance, and it's a dark purple. And on the other side of that location is the end of the Humboldt River, and that's where the Sidica, the tule eaters, and Kuptikutta, which is the ground squirrel eaters, their territory is located. And you see that mountain with the saddle on the top of it, and a little to the left there is a snow-capped mountain. Between there and a little bit further on would be Pyramid Lake, Kuyuitikutta, the Kuyui eaters. It's an old ancient fish. And if you go a little further to the south is where the Truckee Meadows is located, or Reno area. On the other side of that snow-capped is the Washoe. Their Washoes have territory continuing on up into the Sierra Nevada and the Lake Tahoe area. And further to the south, you'll see another snow-capped mountain way off in the distance, and that would be Mount Grant, representing the Agaitikutta, is the trout eaters at the end of the Walker River Range. To complete the circle from where we're standing today, if you look further east, that is where the Shoshone's territory is.
Donna Cassette in museum exhibit.
Be interesting for non-natives or pioneers as they were coming through this territory to see some of our basketry, some of the willow works that we actually had with our water. Of course, water is very important to us, and the different types of technology that we had to present to the world once we were a part of it. And these are duck decoys. We have traditional foods in our basketry. These are winnowing trays that we had, and we do still use them today, along with the tule clothing and the sagebrush clothing that you see behind me. And that would have been traditional wear along with buckskin and leathers that we have. Because we travel long distances for our food. We oftentimes have many different homes, if you will, or campsites. And this is one of the reasons why we would leave our traditional tools there, is because they're very heavy. You can see this one is quite large. This is a grinding stone. And this is the size of stuff that you don't want to be hiking out through the desert to exhaust yourself with.
Shots of desert landscapes.
Traditionally, these places would have been used by my ancestors as stopping points along these routes. Some of them were actual locations in which they had permanent residence at, and they continued to forage out from there. But these places would have been used, and they would have been fought over, and my people would have been displaced from these locations. They would have had to have moved because of conflict for these resources. For my people at the time of 1860, there was a lot happening in their lives. The world was changing around them at a very rapid pace. Just 20 years prior to that, the occupation of the Immigrant Trail was established into California, both the Truckee and the Carson route. There was a lot of conflict for natural resources throughout all of our territories, both Paiute, Shoshone, and Washoe, and beyond. And the Pony Express was a little short part of that story being told of ours. There was changing happening all around us, but we were probably one of the last ones within the Great Basin to maintain that traditional way of life. Probably one of the longest amongst a lot of our people in North America.
Our public lands hold our shared heritage. Vandalism, graffiti, and removing artifacts are prohibited by state and federal laws. This video presented in coordination with the Bureau of Land Management, the National Trails Office, and Couts Environmental Consultants. With special thanks to the University of Nevada, Reno Anthropology Department and At One Media Services, to the Paiute, Shoshone, and Washoe peoples of Nevada, and to all the Pony Express riders and volunteers. Made possible by funding from McEwen Mining, Inc.